Turks move into Byzantium. Many Anatolian Turks saw themselves as Ghazis or warriors for Islam. They formed military societies under the leadership of an emir, a chief commander, and followed a strict Islamic code of conduct. They raided the territories of people who lived on the frontiers of the Byzantine Empire. Osman establishes a state. The most successful Ghazi was Osman. People in the West called him Othman and named his followers Ottomans. Osman built a small Muslim state in Anatolia between 1300 and 1326. His successors expanded it by buying land, forming alliances with some emirs, and conquering others. The Ottomans' military success was largely based on the use of gunpowder. They replaced their archers on horseback with musket-carrying foot soldiers. They also were among the first people to use cannons as weapons of attack. Even heavily walled cities fell to an all-out attack by the Turks. The second Ottoman leader, Orhan I, was Osman's son. He felt strong enough to declare himself Sultan, meaning overlord or one with power. And in 1361, the Ottomans captured Adrianople, the second most important city in the Byzantine Empire. A new Turkish empire was on the rise. The Ottomans acted wisely toward the people they conquered. They ruled through local officials appointed by the Sultan and often improved the lives of the peasants. Most Muslims had to serve in Turkish armies and make contributions required by their faith. Non-Muslims did not have to serve in the army, but had to pay for their exemption with a small tax. Timur the Lame halts expansion. The rise of the Ottoman Empire was briefly interrupted in the early 1400s by a rebellious warrior and conqueror from Samarkand in Central Asia. Permanently injured by an arrow in the leg, he was called Timur Lang, or Timur the Lame. Europeans called him Tamerlane. Timur burned the powerful city of Baghdad in present-day Iraq to the ground. He crushed the Ottoman forces at the Battle of Ankara in 1402. This defeat halted the expansion of their empire. Powerful sultans spurred dramatic expansion. Soon Timur turned his attention to China. When he did, war broke out among the four sons of the Ottoman Sultan. Mehmed I defeated his brothers and took the throne. His son, Murad II, defeated the Venetians, invaded Hungary, and overcame an army of Italian crusaders in the Balkans. He was the first of four powerful sultans who led the expansion of the Ottoman Empire through 1566. Mehmed II conquers Constantinople. Murad's son Mehmed II, or Mehmed the Conqueror, achieved the most dramatic feat in Ottoman history. By the time Mehmed took power in 1451, the ancient city of Constantinople had shrunk from a population of 1 million to a mere 50,000. Although it controlled no territory outside its walls, it still dominated the Bosporus Strait. Controlling this waterway meant that it could choke off traffic between the Ottomans' territories in Asia and in the Balkans. Mehmed II decided to face this situation head-on. "Give me Constantinople!" he thundered, shortly after taking power at age 21. Then, in 1453, he launched his attack. Mehmed's Turkish forces began firing on the city walls with mighty cannons. One of these was a 26-foot gun that fired 1,200-pound boulders. A chain across the Golden Horn between the Bosporus Strait and the Sea of Marmara kept the Turkish fleet out of the city's harbor. Finally, one night Mehmed's army tried a daring tactic. They dragged 70 ships over a hill on greased runners from the Bosporus to the harbor. Now Mehmed's army was attacking Constantinople from two sides. The city held out for over 7 weeks, but the Turks finally found a break in the wall and entered the city. Mehmed the Conqueror, as he was now called, proved to be an able ruler as well as a magnificent warrior. He opened Constantinople to new citizens of many religions and backgrounds. Jews, Christians, and Muslims, Turks and non-Turks all flowed in. They helped rebuild the city, which was now called Istanbul. Ottomans take Islam's holy cities. Mehmed's grandson, Selim the Grim, came to power in 1512. He was an effective sultan and a great general. In 1514, he defeated the Safavids of Persia at the Battle of Calderon. Then he swept south through Syria and Palestine and into North Africa. At the same time that Cortés was toppling the Aztec Empire in the Americas, Selim's empire took responsibility for Mecca and Medina. Finally, he took Cairo, the intellectual center of the Muslim world. The once great civilization of Egypt had become just another province in the growing Ottoman Empire. Suleiman the Lawgiver. The Ottoman Empire didn't reach its peak size and grandeur until the reign of Selim's son, Suleiman I. Suleiman came to the throne in 1520 and ruled for 46 years. His own people called him Suleiman the Lawgiver. He was known in the West, though, as Suleiman the Magnificent. This title was a tribute to the splendor of his court and to his cultural achievements. The empire reaches its limits. Suleiman was a superb military leader. He conquered the important European city of Belgrade in 1521. The next year, Turkish forces captured the island of Rhodes in the Mediterranean and now dominated the whole eastern Mediterranean. Applying their immense naval power, the Ottomans captured Tripoli on the coast of North Africa. They continued conquering peoples along the North African coastline. Although the Ottomans occupied only the coastal cities of North Africa, they managed to control trade routes to the interior of the continent. In 1526, Suleiman advanced into Hungary and Austria, throwing Central Europe into a panic. Suleiman's armies then pushed to the outskirts of Vienna, Austria. Reigning from Istanbul, Suleiman had waged war with Central Europeans, North Africans, and Central Asians. He had become the most powerful monarch on earth. Only Charles V, head of the Habsburg Empire in Europe, came close to rivaling his power. Highly structured social organization. Binding the Ottoman Empire together in a workable social structure was Suleiman's crowning achievement. The massive empire required an efficient government structure and social organization. Suleiman created a law code to handle both criminal and civil actions. He also simplified and limited taxes, and systematized and reduced government bureaucracy. These changes improved the lives of most citizens and helped earn Suleiman the title of lawgiver. The Sultan's 20,000 personal slaves staffed the palace bureaucracy. The slaves were acquired as part of a policy called devshirme. Under the devshirme system, the Sultan's army drafted boys from the peoples of conquered Christian territories. The army educated them, converted them to Islam, and trained them as soldiers. An elite force of 30,000 soldiers known as janissaries was trained to be loyal to the Sultan only. Their superb discipline made them the heart of the Ottoman war machine. In fact, Christian families sometimes bribed officials to take their children into the Sultan's service because the brightest ones could rise to high government posts or military positions. As a Muslim, Suleiman was required to follow Islamic law. In accordance with Islamic law, the Ottomans granted freedom of worship to other religious communities, particularly to Christians and Jews. They treated these communities as millets or nations. They allowed each millet to follow its own religious laws and practices. The head of the millets reported to the Sultan and his staff. This system kept conflict among people of the various religions to a minimum. Cultural flowering. Suleiman had broad interests, which contributed to the cultural achievements of the empire. He found time to study poetry, history, geography, astronomy, mathematics, and architecture. He employed one of the world's finest architects, Sinan, who was probably from Albania. Sinan's masterpiece, the Mosque of Suleiman, is an immense complex topped with domes and half-domes. It includes 4 schools, a library, a bath, and a hospital. Art and literature also flourished under Suleiman's rule. This creative period was similar to the European Renaissance. Painters and poets looked to Persia and Arabia for models. The works that they produced used these foreign influences to express original Ottoman ideas in the Turkish style. They are excellent examples of cultural blending. The empire declined slowly. Despite Suleiman's magnificent social and cultural achievements, the Ottoman Empire was losing ground. Suleiman killed his ablest son and drove another into exile. His third son, the incompetent Selim II, inherited the throne. Suleiman set the pattern for later sultans to gain and hold power. It became customary for each new sultan to have his brothers strangled. The sultan would then keep his sons prisoner in the harem, cutting them off from education or contact with the world. This practice produced a long line of weak sultans, who eventually brought ruin on the empire. However, the Ottoman Empire continued to influence the world into the early 20th century.